More. No, I'm sorry. Go forward 3. Oh, right there. Okay. Ready? Perdition. First option. Look at that. First option. Now listen, you got God's word. You got God's word. What does that say? Damnable nation. Now we already know God's word. You can go all the way back to Rebecca. Remember when she went to God and there's something going on in her belly? Remember? And she said, hey, I'm going to go encounter from God and see what's going on in here. And he says, behold, you have 2 in your belly. You're holding twins. And there is what? One nation. Now, is that what she said? Is that what the Lord said? Come on, you know the word. There are 2 nations. 2 nations in your womb. That's what it says right there. First option, damnable nation. Let me ask you something. Who did God hate? I'm sorry, who did God dislike before he was even born? Oh, well, he just didn't care for him. Okay, you tell me a person that God hated before he even messed up, before he was even born and made a choice. You can't get no more damnable than that the guy didn't even get a chance to get born and even mess up, and God hated him. Now you tell me an individual that ain't damned from the very start than that man right there. Can you give me any instances? You see what I'm saying? That guy ain't got a chance. Second choice, destruction. Third choice, perdition. Fourth choice, waste. I think you know which one I chose. Don't you? Okay. Let's go to verse 4. Who opposeth? What does that word opposeth mean? Go to the Strong's. Opposeth means to lie opposite, be adverse, adversary, be contrary, oppose, repugnant. Okay, does anybody here know what repugnant means? Because, you know, I didn't. My wife did, imagine that. But I didn't. So this old long-haired hippie has to go to the dictionary and learn something, right? And the word repugnant means contradictory or opposed. Contradictory or opposed. Okay? So, since it's the same, but the word repugnant describes the more that it's in opposition, not to take away, but I chose the word contradicts. Because I can't put contradictory in the sentence. I got to use it contradicts. It's an opposite. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I use the word contradict. Write it off to the side. Who opposeth and exalteth. What does the word exalteth mean? The word exalteth means to raise oneself over. Okay? To raise oneself over. To become haughty. To exalt self. Be exalted above measure. Okay? Talking about a man. To be exalted above measure. Himself, what does that word himself mean? Let's skip that one. I didn't go to that one. Okay? We understand. That is a pronoun. We understand that it's talking about that man. Let's go to above all that is called God. Now, the word God is used like 1,000 times, right? But it is only used the word God in this form right here, not every single time. Okay? And I want you to know, I want you to see what this means. Right here, here you go. The supreme divinity, okay, exceeding God with a capital G or God with a little g. See the option? They could have put God with a little g. They could have, but they put God with a big G. Now, me personally, it would have been better if they would have put the supreme divinity. Okay? And the word supreme divinity that defines divinity is what? Does anybody, how do you say supreme divinity in one word? Divine. Thank you. Divine. Now, I can't be that wrong because almost every other Bible used that word. Okay? So let's go and right off to the side, divine. Or that is worshipped. So that he as God, there it is again. He as God, it's the same word, people, but the word divine. Sitteth. Let's go to that word right there. The word sitteth is only used 2 times in the whole entire Bible. This word right here, sitteth, is only used 2 times in the whole entire Bible. Okay? What does this word mean? To sit down. Now check this out. To sit down. Figurative, appoint. To settle. Hoover or how would you say that? Hover? Is that right? Hover? Dwell? Continue? Set? Sit? Or tarry? Now let me ask you something. To sit down, to settle, to hover, dwell, continue, tarry, sit, or sit, is that describing your posterior sitting down on a chair? Is that describing that? Let me give you an example. I just set this Bible in front of you. I just set it in front of you. S-E-T. I just set this Bible in front of you. Okay. To place. Very good. I just placed it. Now, the word used here is you better pick up that book because it's still sitting there and you'll forget it. See the difference between the word set and it is sitting there. You better pick it up. Or that word is that Bible is continuing to sit there, pick it up, or it's going to get ruined. See, it's talking about the continuance. It's still there. It's not talking about the posterior. It's talking about the action of continuing to tarry. Okay? So let's break it down even further and go to certain words like hover. In the dictionary, hover means to stay. See, we're not messing up on what the interpretation of the word is, the definition of the word is. We're not messing it up because we're breaking down the words that describe that word. And to hover means to stay. That is exactly what I told you, to continue. Okay? So what I want you to do, a very simple word that we can understand would be continue. Would you agree? So let's take continue and write it off to the side. Sitteth, so that he as God sitteth in the temple. What does that word temple mean? We've already been through this. And we'll just do it again. You have 3 choices. You have 3 choices. They could have used any 3. They could have put a fane in there. Do anybody know what a fane is? It's another word for temple. That's all it is, another word for temple. They chose the word temple. They could have put shrine in there. I mean, it's a third, it's a third, it's a third. It wasn't 50-50, it's a third. They could have put shrine in there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to see where that word was begotten from, what word that came out of, and this is the word. It comes from 24:11. And this is a word describing, okay, sacred place. Now we're getting a little bit more clearer, ain't we? Sacred place. Check it out. The entire precincts. That's in there. Check this out. Whereas 3485 denotes the central sanctuary itself of the temple of Jerusalem or elsewhere. Now that's in my strong concordance, people. Right there. That is it. That is right there in parentheses. Okay? And I got a 1600 AD concordance, and it was written back in 1600. That's what it says right there. That 3485, that first one, denotes the central sanctuary itself of the temple at Jerusalem or elsewhere. That's what it says. That's why I can clearly tell you that is not talking about that temple that was tore down. That sanctuary, the temple where they did worship, was not that was tore down in 70 AD. It is not talking about that temple or that sanctuary or the Holy of Holies or the menorah or the Ark of the Covenant or the mercy. You see, it's not talking about that. But it is talking about the sacred place. And that is where the temple sat. Or where the center part. So what was the best describing thing? Sacred place? The entire precincts. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Okay. That defines that beautifully. So let's take the entire precincts and write it off to the side. Okay, now, the word showing, I found a mistake in the Strong's. I found a mistake. The word showing isn't in it. And it's not in the prefix. The word showing. What is it? Appendix. It's not even in the appendix. It's not in there. Okay? So I can't show you what the word showing is. But I can take you to the dictionary. And that's what they did. Because they're going to use the exact same word that I'm going to give you. What does the word showing mean? The word showing means an exhibition. Formal display. What does exhibition mean? Showing that which is shown, a public show as of art objects. So that makes perfectly sense that, right, when we was in high school and we had our yearly art, what was they called? Exhibition. And you invited all your family and friends and they walked through the gymnasium and they seen your art, right? Okay. It has to do with showing. And it has to do with art. Let's go to the word. Where am I at? Showing himself that he is, that word God, it's the same word. We're going to put divine in there again. Verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth. Time out. What does that word withholdeth mean? That word